You're listening to the 49 Carats Podcast, a 49ers Goldmine production with Stephanie Sanchez.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome to another edition of the 49 Carats Podcast. I'm your host, Steph. It is Friday, April 25th. Day 2 of the NFL draft takes place later this evening, but we got day 1 to talk about, and the 49ers made a nice move acquiring Georgia edge Mykel Williams. Joining me to talk about that pick and what the 49ers could or should do on day 2 is Wayne Breezy. Wayne, how you doing, man?
I am great because the 49ers did exactly what we thought that they needed to do. They addressed the defensive line. There are several prospects out there, and I think many of us felt like this was going to be a nice, sure fit for the 49ers and Mykel Williams. So I'm excited to see him get to the football field and lock and load and be ready to go.
Wayne, I mean, it couldn't have gone more perfect for the 49ers, those first 10 picks. I mean, I think a lot of us in the lead up to the draft, say like the last 24 hours ahead of it, were like, is Mason Graham a possibility? And so that dream kind of died. I'm sure you would have loved that one, Wayne, but he went to the Browns at 5. But really after that, there was the run on offensive players. And with each pick, you're like, this can't be happening, right? Like each pick was like, oh, this is good for the Niners. And then the next one would come in and it's like, oh, this is good for the Niners. And then the next one, like, until, of course, the 49ers were on the clock and they had their full crop, I think, of the defensive players that they liked on the board. Aside from maybe Mason Graham, I mean, we don't know how they felt about him, but he was maybe the only person who wasn't available there that would have been somewhat realistic for them at 11. And you hear the team's reaction on Mykel being there at 11 after the fact, right? Like John Lynch saying, we wanted to trade up for him. A team shot us down, but we still ended up with him at 11. I mean, I think that tells you this was the guy for them the entire time. Just like us, they probably figured that the Saints were going to get him because that's what I thought. Was going to happen. And, you know, they went with an offensive player. They got Kelvin Banks instead. And, you know, it just worked out perfectly for the 49ers. So, Wayne, just give me your initial thoughts on Mykel and why you like this fit for the 49ers.
I mean, when you look at the guy, you can look at the guy in two ways. You can look at the guy just based off of statistics, and you can kind of get a sense of what he does. If you're not a person that watches Georgia play football, you can watch their games and you can see his impact on the football field. Or you could do what we kind of do now and kind of like watch film and see where like his pros and his cons are, right? And so breaking down this prospect, the only, like, I guess you could say hindrance that we didn't get from him is him participating in the big all-star games, right? So like he didn't participate, so we didn't get to really like push and pump him like we did a lot of the other players that we actually got a chance to physically see with our own eyes. But I remember sending out a text message to Tony about like 3 weeks ago, and I said, yo, why? But this is before anything about Mykel. I said, why does Mykel Williams fit the 49ers like a glove? And he was like, nah, the production is low. I was like, I know, but the kid is young. The kid has a very high ceiling. He can set the edge. And all of a sudden, you started hearing the Mykel Williams Niners. They brought him in for the top 30 visit. And then everybody started to feel this trend of the Mykel Williams train going along, which is great because he's going to be, I think, the perfect fit. And I don't want people to compare him to Drake Jackson. First of all, Drake Jackson was a second-round pick. Mykel Williams is a first-round pick. It's a big difference in the picks. That's number one. Two is a big difference in the schooling and the programs that they came out of. We're talking about a guy that played under Kirby that is phenomenal at breeding edge rushers, defensive players, opposed to, I forgot who was the coach over there at USC at the time. Drake Jackson was kind of like, we made him gain weight, play inside, made him lose weight, play outside. Like they messed him up big time. We took a risk on him with our second round pick. And I still think if he comes back healthy and he's able to play, he'll be good in the rotation for the San Francisco 49ers. But I don't want to see the Drake. A lot of people are like, oh, we don't draft these edge rushers right. Solomon Thomas. The only one we got right was Nick Bosa. Well, I think the next one that they got right is going to be Mykel Williams. I really do truly believe that. You're talking 6'5", 260 plus pounds. He has speed out there on the edge. Not your 4.5 speed like the edge rushers, but for a edge setter, he has good 4.7 speed. Maybe a little bit quicker than Nick Bosa as you watch him play. He has the size to get his hands up, bat down passes. I think most importantly, he's just disruptive. You might not see tons of sacks or tons of pressures, but you do see him getting a bunch of stops in the backfield. And I think stopping the run is more important at this point.
Yeah, and Mykel Williams was kind of a player that for me, he grew on me, right? Like, and maybe I might have mentioned it like March or something, like when we've had shows and we went through the 49K draft club. I was a huge fan of Jalen Walker, right, Wayne? You know that. And
yeah, because he's a monster. Like, he has the physical traits and attributes, speed on the edge, high relentless motor. Like, those are the things that you cater to. Like, so it makes sense. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, you watch Walker play, and he's flying all over the place. He's making plays. Mykel Williams, I thought when I initially watched him, like, kind of faded into the background at times. I mean, that Georgia defense is like stacked, right? They got so many dudes that can make
the rotation
plays.
is crazy.
And you mentioned the rotation. Like, that's, to me, that's a plus and minus, because the bad of that, he only averaged 33.5 defensive snaps per game. So that's not a lot. The adjustment into the NFL, I think, is going to be a pretty steep one for him in getting used to playing more snaps per game, unless the 49ers plan is to rotate him, which I think early on in his career, that'd make a ton of sense. You keep him out there for those base downs. You let someone else come in on those obvious passing downs, because yes, one of the knocks on him is that the pass rush needs refining. And so you could see that. You see that on tape. That's one of the things that, I kind of noticed with him. He wasn't flashing in that area, which when I initially watched him, that's what I was looking for. But what I did see and why he grew on me is, what we're talking about. He's incredible against the run. He sets the edge. And that's exactly what the 49ers need. Like, that's something that's going to immediately improve this 49ers defense, right? And so him only being 20 years old, him having the tools, like those 34-inch arms, and that shows up on tape, right? He can strong arm, guys. The fact that he could play from outside or inside, hearing the 49ers talk about him, you can tell that's something that, really stuck out to them. And so all these things, I'm like, I'm kind of looking at him as like a high upside pick, along with the fact that, I thought he would be going in the top 10, right? I was really drawn to Mykel Williams. And I think part of it too was the fact that I didn't want the 49ers to go Shamar Stewart. So like I almost talked myself into Mykel even more because at that point it was just anyone but Shamar Stewart. And I look at them in similar ways because they're both very athletic. But I think there's more of a higher floor for Mykel and more to work with just off the bat. Fact that he's just slightly younger. Some of the same upside is there, but you've seen more of it proven with Mykel, I think, more so than Shamar Stewart. So this was, I think, aside from Walter Nolan, one of my top choices for the 49ers. And so I'm really glad that this ended up panning out. And of course, I also wanted to play the clip of the 49ers talking about what they liked about him. And here's what John
Lynch you guys on him specifically.
Everything. I think that like the totality of the whole process, and the film is very impressive. I mean, Mykel's a big, good-looking kid in every way. He's big, he's tall, he's long. He's a great athlete. He's tough. He's smart. He's versatile. He can play outside. He can play inside. He does all those things. I think the toughness, he played through an ankle injury last year and missed 2 games, but high ankle sprains can be a tough deal. And to only miss 2 games and play as well as he did, came through here on a 30 visit and really got a feel for the kid. And I just think all of that led us to this guy is a Niner. He fits who we are, our culture, and we bounced when he was there.
Yeah, so I mean, you can't be
I
mad
think
at
the,
it.
like the
This is
totality of the whole
This is
process.
the guy that they wanted, and so I'm happy with this. Hold on, let me try to.
Yeah,
You guys,
I know
you
it's
can't
good
hear
now.
the audio anymore, can you?
Yeah, no, it's good. I'm ecstatic because, for one, Robert Saleh wanted this guy. For two, Chris Kosaric wanted this guy, and for three, like, you have to trust your coaches at this point. This isn't year one where they're coming in, learning, blah, 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 blah. Nah, they've been in the league for a minute now, and it's about time we start giving them better talent, better quality talent. This kid is very talented, and I don't think we're like owning in on the strengths. Yeah, he has his weakness. Every player in this draft has weaknesses that
Every
they need to be
player.
coached up. Even the first pick of the draft has weaknesses, which Cam Ward is going to deal with when he gets out to Tennessee. But my point is, I really do think that the 49ers hit the nail on the head by addressing the outside with a deep defensive tackle class. If this defensive tackle class was kind of scarce and it was inversed, I think they would have went tackle first. I think they would have went with the Walter Nolan or the Derek Harmon or the big guy. But there's a lot of depth at the defensive tackle position. So they went with the scarce position of, let me find the best edge setter out here. Not the edge rusher, edge setter. There's a difference. And I think people are, we have to do a better job at explaining, all right, he's going to be setting the edge. He's a monster against the run. His run defense. And this is why I said that the pick was either going to be him, Shamar Stewart, and I was surprised none of us was talking about Nick Scorton out of Texas A&M, another edge setter out there. They all have similar stats. The thing I love about this kid is, he's young, right? So he's moldable. He's not even 21. It doesn't turn 21 until June 29th, I believe. Mm-hmm. On top of that, this kid played on a high ankle sprain, and that to me just lets me know that he's not only a dog, he's a warrior. And I think you're giving Robert Saleh and Chris Kosaric a warrior out there. It's gonna make things so much clearer for the San Francisco 49ers and what they're trying to do defensively. It's gonna make their secondary stronger. It's gonna just make them stronger. I don't believe he's gonna be an every down guy earlier in his stage, because they're gonna probably bring him along slowly but surely, want to make sure he's good, all that type of stuff. And that's fine. That's why you still have your Yetur Gross-Matos here. He can be on your early downs. You bring him in on pass rushing, however you see fit. I think the Niners are going to continue to build depth, and I wouldn't be surprised, Steph, if they add that type of speed pass rusher from this draft, as well as players continue to kind of like fall. I think the Niners are going to just let the board fall to them. Trust the board. I said that on Twitter. Just trust the board.
It's funny because, them talking about wanting to move up was not really trusting the board. They thought Mykel was going to get picked. And, while I admire the aggressiveness to get your guy, I also think good teams simply just let the board fall as it will, and they get the best player that's available. Look at the Chiefs. Look at the Eagles. Look at the Ravens. Those were slam dunk picks by those teams, and it's because those players fell to them and they just got the best guy that was out there that made sense for them. And man, I mean, you really can't fault them. So the 49ers, it worked out for them in the end. And yes, they're in a great position to do the same in the second round, third round of this draft. That just the way that everything's fallen so far. I want to get back to this comment here from the Unfaithful Perspective. Thank you for the super chat. He says, you can make the argument that every player outside of Hunter and Genty was a reach. That's including Abdul and the two offensive linemen. Exactly. I think that's a great point. I've literally had shows on this channel talking about the risk involved with any of the options that the 49ers were going to have available to them at 11, right? There's a lot of them. There were some with injury risks. There were some with character concerns, right? There were some with production concerns. And so really, aside from all of that, I felt in the end that Mykel was one of the safer options from all of those, just based on some of the good things that we've mentioned about him here so far. Just the upside of him, the high floor, The fact that he played on that injury, I think, shows his toughness. He said at the combine, he told reporters he was playing 2024 at 60% after that injury with his high ankle sprain. And yet he ranked in each of his 3 collegiate seasons, ranked first or second in total pressures on Georgia's stacked defense. And so that's including 2024. He had a high in sacks with 5, playing at 60%. So I think we saw him get better each and every year. And what everyone says, when he's healthy, like he is one of the most dominant players. He would have been a top 5 pick had he not been, injured, and that kind of hurt his stock a little bit.
Yeah, without a doubt. And I mean, and some teams can take risks on these players. I put out several tweets with much negative feedback about me saying exactly that. Like, I really felt like every player outside of those 3-4 players that I thought are blue chip players were going to be reaches. It's just what happens when you're picking at 11 and the draft is the way it is. The quarterbacks aren't good in this draft. That hurt everything right there. That changed the whole game on how to attack the board. And, go back to my statement earlier, Steph, I think the Niners had a couple of plans on how to address the draft and trusting their board. I think they wanted to trust their board, but I do love the fact that they were willing to be aggressive to go up and get their guy. And that's important to me, because I always talk about how this team isn't aggressive, and it's really good to see that they were willing to do that. But we know that they're aggressive because we know they move all up and down the draft board. John Lynch has zero problems. John Lynch is a part of that. Those picks that he comes from that cloth. Like, I don't know if we realize that, but that's what he does. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, right? So I love the aggression, but I'm really happy that things are falling. And you look at this day too, and I'm saying to myself, okay, because I'm going to be doing a show around 4 p.m. With Mike from Nothing But Niners, and do you go biggest need or best player available? This is going to be so fun because players are falling. Shedeur Sanders not getting drafted is huge because Cleveland has 2 picks in that 3rd round early, and so maybe they get a quarterback, maybe they don't. Will Johnson not getting drafted, huge. How does this formulate for the 49ers? Do they make a move and become aggressive and go get their guy, or do they fall back and just trust the board? So it's going to be interesting.
I think the way that it's shaping up right now, if you look at the list of players that are available, and we'll take a look at those players here in a bit, they can realistically do both. They can fill the need and get the best player available. And so I feel really good about pick 43. 43. I think, they're going to be able to get someone who could potentially be best player available and or fill a need. And look, the fact that they were willing to move up from 11 tells me that they wouldn't be adverse to moving up from 43, if that opportunity presents itself to get a guy that, hey, like, we had no idea this guy would make it out of the 1st round. We got to get him. So I like the options as well for them. But Wayne, just to kind of take one final look at Mykel Williams before we talk about the 2nd round here. What are some things when you watch his tape that you enjoy the most?
And I just love his motor, right? We talk about getting these guys with these motors out there, and you got motor coming off the edge. I mean, just look at him. He's just flying around
against Kelvin Banks.
Against Kelvin Banks, who went number 9 to the New Orleans Saints, and I had him as my number 1 tackle in this draft because he was the most healthy out of all of them, and I felt like he could run, protect, and cover and pass block in space. So look the way he's able to rip. And see, these are some of the things we're talking about. I mean, the pressure is there, so his initial pressure forced that play outside. I don't think people understand enough the pressure that we're talking about, right? Because that's pressure, right? Because if you got these 2 big bookends in Nick Bosa and Mykel Williams, now your defensive tackles up front are going to be able to, like, which way you want to get sacked, sir? Like, you want to get sacked from the left, from the right, or from the middle. So now it comes down to guys just rapping and making tackles. And so you get these bookends, man. Look at his number 13. The way he sheds the block, that's amazing. We're talking about block shedding. I really love his hands the best, though, Steph. Like, what he needs to work on, though, are the pass rushing moves because he wins a lot off of power. All right. He's not speed, but he wins a lot off of power. So he's going to have to figure out a way to translate that power because he's going to come up against. Luckily, he doesn't have to face Trent Williams, but he's going to come up against some really good tackles that are strong. Right. This is going to make him better. My point exactly. It's going to make him better for sure.
Yeah, and I think, one thing that he was asked about is how he would fit and like to play in this wide nine, right? I think that's really just going to accentuate what he's best at. I mean, just the explosiveness off of the edge. He's going to have those favorable angles where, he really could use those long arms to get the tackle off of him and slip right past him,
1,000%.
right? So, and, from a lot of these clips that you're seeing here, when he has an open lane to the quarterback, I mean, it's game over. Like he will get to, like look at that one. Look how quickly he got past Kelvin Banks there. And that game against Texas was, I think, his
probably best game. Yeah.
And so if you guys want to watch any game on Mykel, have it be that one, because I think that shows just the true potential in full ceiling that I think the 49ers really want to be able to tap into when he's in San Francisco. And so I'm really excited about what he brings to the table, what he's going to be able to do opposite Nick Bosa. I just think it's going to be a very favorable spot for him to be in with Robert Saleh, with Chris Kosarek. We keep mentioning only 20 years old. Like it's just crazy. I think there's so much upside. There's so much to like about it. And so I get more and more excited. Again, a month or two ago, I wouldn't have been so thrilled. But now I'm all in. And I've seen other people say the same thing. It's like within the last day, they're like, oh, now I'm excited about this pick because you're starting to see these things. And it's crazy, right, Wayne? It's like, oh, all you had to do was watch the film.
Yeah, like this is like I happened to come. Who was I watching on the Georgia defense? Probably Jalen Walker. I think I was looking at the film on Walker, right? And then I started zeroing in on number 13, and I was like, "Yo, this guy is a 49er." Like, you know what I mean? But I had to watch the film because you weren't getting the same fanfare from some of these premier edge rushers because he doesn't have the statistics, he doesn't have the numbers, he doesn't have that pure athleticism. He didn't test through the roof at the NFL Combine, right? And so, like, nothing about him stands out unless you watch the film.
Yeah. But see, you're the opposite of me because when I first tried to watch him, I actually ended up watching Jalen Walker more.
That is so funny.
But I think this needs to be said. Like Jalen Walker, a great player, and I've said it before. Like great player, but just simply would not have fit like the 49ers as much as Mykel Williams. Mykel Williams is more the traditional sort of edge. And again, we do talk about the versatility of Mykel as well. So he has that too. Jalen Walker, different type of versatility, but one that you kind of have to like finagle and see how he fits in with the defense. Just not a fit for the 49ers. So I think that's important. Fit is important. Teams value fit over consensus, over, some other things. So just keep that in mind. I think that's why, 49ers ultimately felt like Mykel was the better choice of the two, having both there as an option at 11. 49ers throwback, thank you for the super chat. Asks, happy Friday. Do you see some Charles Omenihu or Frank Clark in him? Bring me defensive tackle Darius Alexander. Who do you feel the 49ers will draft tonight? All right, so a couple questions in this one. So do I see some Charles Omenihu or Frank Clark? I mean, I definitely see some of that speed with him. Like we were saying, if he gets an open lane to the quarterback, he's going to take it and he's going to be hard to stop, right? He gets through tight ends. He could beat guards from the inside as well. So I could see some, I guess, Charles Omenihu. I know, like, with the long arms, everyone's like, is that Aldon Smith? So, I think there's some similarities you could grab from, existing players. But what do you think, Wayne? If you had to comp him to anyone, 49er or not, what's your thought?
Yeah, like his comps are weird because I feel like he'll be a mixture of several players, and I kind of actually like the two players that Throwback threw out there. They both won different ways though, because like Omenihu has a certain build that allows him His quickness allows him to play inside and win from the interior. And then he has the ability, because of the size and the length, to set the edge, right? And so I would say that there's a higher ceiling, though, on Mykel Williams. But, if you want to go floor, Frank Clark was just a motor monster machine coming out of Michigan. Like, he just can get to the quarterback. He was mean. And so if you put those two things into him, yeah, you kind of get that player, and you just get a very lengthy player that's strong. I think you get a powerful, lengthy player, sort of kind of like how Eric Armstead was. Like, how are we going to use Eric Armstead? Oh, we use him inside. Oh, no, he can line up outside. And the Niners, he's young, he's versatile, he can do both. I feel like that's kind of like what you get. If I had to comp him to anybody, it'd probably be like a former 49er, Eric Armstead. And so this is with a better motor. So I'll leave it at that.
I don't see the Solomon Thomas thing, because I've seen people
how did you get
Thomas?
Yeah, that's
I haven't, but I've seen other people.
I never seen that one. No, I think they're comparing it. I think the Solomon Thomas thing comes up because that's who we drafted in 2017 with the first pick, and he was a tweener. But he was a tweener. There's a difference between being versatile and being a tweener. A tweener means your weight is a weird weight, and are you going to play inside or are you going to play outside? He doesn't have that weird weight. He is an edge, but he has the versatility and the ability to play inside. It's the same stuff you see. You know what, Steph? Let me just put it like this. We're going to be stunting like motherfuckers. Like, that's what we're going to be doing. So just get ready for the XXXXXXX all throughout the offensive line. And they're going to shift and rotate these pieces in there, and you're going to see crazy-ass stunts. That's what we're going to get. I can guarantee it. We tried it last year, and it didn't work because those players just couldn't. They didn't have the athleticism.
Let's take a quick look at the 49ers defensive end depth, or their defensive line depth. I mean, as far as the ends go, you got Nick Bosa and Mykel Williams. Those are your book ends. Some spots to fill, as we know, on the interior. They also have Kevin Givens, Jordan Elliott there, Clea Davis, Evan Anderson. Their secondary depth on the edges, Sam Okoye-Onunu and Yetur Gross-Matos, which Gross-Matos has that ability to rush from either side too. So I think they can, or from outside or inside. Mm-hmm. So I think they probably like that versatility as well. Just the fact that they can kind of mix and match those guys as they see fit.
That's what I'm saying. Because the Niners are going to, I'm sure Koseric's going to come, not Koseric, Saleh, and we're going to look to be able to bring these guys inside and outside, or they start outside and they stunt and come back and go inside like that. Watching Nick Bosa do that a lot last year, I'm like, okay, I can kind of see what we're trying to do, right? Because those stunts actually help. We did it a lot back with under Vic Fangio and the 3-4 defense, and we're able to do it if you get the right pieces, the right players with the right timing. It's all timing, right? And so that's what he is. You watched him on one of those clips where the lane just opened up, but then he hit the button and went, like, right? Like, it wasn't fast at the beginning, but as soon as he saw that lane open up, it was like the Red Sea, and he took off, right? And that timing, we're getting players in rhythm and timing. The defense has to be rhythm and timing, just like the offense. And I love the addition of Mykel Williams. And like I said, I would not be surprised if they go with interior guys that can do exactly the same thing. So big name to look out for, Darius Alexander falling to pick 43.
Okay, this last comment from Nick, if the 49ers just said he would be an edge, but they already said they want to kick him inside on pass downs, which actually is great, Wayne, because like we were saying, hey, like, on those passing downs, you got to bench him or, bring someone else in. But actually, like, he's already shown he could be a good pass rusher from the inside. So actually on those passing downs, third downs, like, you could just move him inside and he could stay on the field. Again, the conditioning thing and him being able to play all three downs, that's the question.
I think that's the goal.
He's going to hit a rookie wall at some point. So I think you want to kind of ease him into it. But yeah, I mean, realistically, with that being said, I mean, he can play all three downs. All right, Wayne, we edged it out this much. Let's now talk about the 49ers options at 43 and even a little bit beyond that. Again, like talking about some of the players that fell out of the first round that were surprises. That makes sense for the 49ers. Shedeur Sanders, obviously, maybe a bit of a surprise. He fell out of the first round. But I don't think it makes sense for the 49ers. Peter Scraggs would probably disagree. I don't know why he even threw that out as an idea, but Mike
That's
Green
funny.
is obviously the best edge rusher that's still on the board. There are some questions there, of course, and I think those questions obviously attributed to him, making out of the first round to begin with. So,
Yeah.
but at what point, and the same kind of goes for Will Johnson, who has, medical concerns. At what point for some of these guys are you saying, man, screw it? I mean, we could just take a chance on this guy at 43 if both of those guys are still there. I don't know if they will be, but this is a good chance, high risk, high reward type of situation for Mike Green, Will Johnson, where you're not taking them at 11. So like, you don't have to feel too bad about it.
Agreed.
So
Agreed.
what do you think on either two of those guys?
Yeah, like this is why I said my show later is going to be best player available versus biggest need. And we've already addressed the edge, so I wouldn't necessarily think that's a big need. It's a need, but it's not a big need. And so that word biggest in front of it is what's key. I still think the defensive tackle position is the biggest need. But when then you look at a player like Mike Green or Will Johnson being available, like there's the Mike Green is probably the second best, if not the best edge rusher, even over Abdul Carter. Like the production is there. And the only reason why you challenge it is because he went to a smaller school. Like, right. And so like, for Mike Green being available and he's at 43, like how do you pass over him unless that stuff behind the scenes is just a little bit too much to, like, you know what I'm saying, like take a chance on a player. But the Niners got 10 more picks. They're going to take a chance on somebody. Like at some point,
they can, yeah.
They have the ability to do that. I know we don't want to waste any picks or whatever, but if he pans out, he pans out, right? We didn't trade back up into the first round to get him. Would he be this year's Reuben Foster? Like, do you take a chance? I don't think he's that type of a character guy as a Reuben Foster. I think his past was his past, and I think it's in the past. But why not get that freaking lightning out the bottle if he's there at 43? I don't know. That's a question. Will Johnson. I don't think his medicals are as for one, they're not telling us what the medicals are, like as far as in depth. They're giving us all this run around stuff. He did his workouts. He did his stuff. He didn't test through the roof. But at the end of the day, you can get him, stash him, and now you have a cornerback one for next year. Like, how do you want to do this? Like, there's so many ways you can go about it. And he fits, to me, the Robert Saleh zone scheme fit, like how we like to play, lock down on a guy on the outside, boom, 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 boom. He fits Robert Saleh. Like, I keep comparing him to kind of like, he would be Robert Saleh's Sauce Gardner. So you can get him in the second round if he's available at 43. It's going to be weird to see where these players go because, you know, the Browns got 2 picks coming up and they can get funky. You can get a team, to some teams that don't even have second round picks, like the Pittsburgh Steelers, like they might try to trade up with a team. The Niners can move back into and get an extra 3rd round pick and an extra 5th round pick, possibly moving. I don't know. It could be weird going, but who knows? For me, it's going to be interesting to see how they look to attack this draft. But the second round, I really think they need to go Darius Alexander with that pick because if they're going versatility, I'm trying to figure out the theme. If they're going with players that are high motor guys with versatility, they went with the young edge rusher in Mykel Williams. Now you can go with the older defensive tackle that can give you inside and outside, 300-plus guy. We watched him. He was a monster at the Senior Bowl. He won his reps. That's crazy. Or they can go with the undersized guy a little bit later and Aeneas Peebles. So who knows? This is a cool draft. There's so many options for the Niners to go. So that's why they may just go best player available.
And I would not be mad at that at all. Again, Wayne, best player available could very well be at a position of need. Like, look at all the edge guys that are available. Mike Green, Donovan Azaraku. I was surprised Azaraku made it out of the first as well because there was a lot of talk of him potentially going in the first. There's going to be Landon Jackson. Are you surprised a bit by Nickum and Wari, still being available?
I am surprised. Well, I'm not. I am surprised because I thought that the Bills would have went with a safety over the corner, but they went with the corner because they also brought Tre'Davious White back, right? Like, so I thought that they would go safety, but they went corner. They got Maxwell Hairston, and so yeah, I'm a little bit surprised. Malachi Starks, clearly best safety probably in the draft, just overall safety, but don't forget that name. That could be a pick 43 pick, because when I think of Nick Emmanwori, the first thing I think of is this kid can play linebacker for me. He's big.
Yeah.
He's a bigger safety.
I mean, we talked about him in one of our shows.
Absolutely.
And you're like, man, that could be a surprise pick for the Niners. And here he could be an option at 43.
He could be an option at 43. Don't look at him. My point is, don't just look at him as a safety. Look at him as a Cam Chancellor-esque type of a moving chess piece. Like, you just lost Talanoa Hufanga, and now you lost Dre Greenlaw, and you kind of could get both of those players back with Emmanwori.
Yeah, and the 49ers, as we know, always covet versatility, and I mean, that would be a tremendous option. So again, best player available, there's going to be some options there. I want to talk about tackles really quick because, yeah, there was a bit of run on tackles in the first round. A lot of those guys, those were like, the best ones. Josh Connerly as well included in that. And so, Wayne, do you expect that due to that, we are maybe going to see another run on the second tier of tackles here? Because there are a couple of guys like Urseries is there, someone who the 49ers had in for a visit.
Yeah, athletic guy.
Other offensive linemen that can, start flying off. Jared Wilson, the OC1 of this class. There's some other guys too. There's Marcus Embo from Purdue, who the 49ers had in for a visit. He's pretty nice. So I don't know if the 49ers, like, how long they want to wait to get an offensive lineman, or if they go tackle or guard, or maybe they're just focused on best player available. I like some options that I think they'll have in the third round. And I'm thinking Charles Grant. I'm thinking Chase Lunt, guys of that nature that will probably be available in that range.
Yeah, I agree. I wouldn't even be surprised if they don't go with a tackle. Like, they might go with the athletic guard combination type of a guy. Like it's all about athleticism with Chris Forster and his offensive line. If you can move, you can play here. Like that's his thing. So look for those players, the Logan Browns, the Charles Luntz, the kid you just mentioned from William and Mary, Charles Grant. Like, look for those guys. I love Trujillo, big guy. Love Becton, big guy. Caleb Rogers, athletic guy. Think about those type of players for this thing. I don't know why freaking Caleb Rogers gives me Aaron Banks vibes, but it's just what it is. I'm probably just way off with that one. But I just think of athletic guys, but don't expect the offensive lineman, in my opinion, in round 3. And I think the tackles are done. Like, I think you saw the reach on the tackles. Ariante Ursery may even make it to pick 75. And if that's the case, that's the guy. Like, that would be a perfect 49er. Athletic right tackle, give me him for sure.
At that point, that'd be pretty close, I would have to imagine, to best player available. So yeah,
right?
I would definitely like that. Yeah. Alfred Collins is a name that's very popular in the chat over here.
320-pound run stuffer, right? And with athleticism, right? And that's what we're talking about, right? So, like, not big on rushing the passer, but definitely big on stopping that run, filling in those gaps, allowing these linebackers to come down, fly down. And we're not even talking about the linebackers. I still feel like we need a linebacker. Like, I like the guys that we have, but I feel like there's some guys in this draft that can come in and be tackling machines. I think missed tackles, it was the biggest thing for the 49ers defense last year, just being out of spots and just taking poor angles and poor technique. And, we talked a lot about Jair Brown and, how the pick of Mykel Williams might help him out. Yeah, but he still has to be a better tackler. Just putting your head down to the ground and thinking you're going to make the hit, no. So tackling is a big thing. Get me one of these surefire tacklers like a Chris Paul Jr. Right. or Carson Swedinger would be there at 43.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. It's a good chance he's still there for the Niners to pick. So I can see that as well, Wayne, being an option for them. And yeah, they're definitely going to address linebacker in this class. I think Pupaw, as you mentioned, also one of their top options, if I had to guess. So, man, I'm excited about what's still available. And I think the 49ers, with the amount of picks that they have, they're going to have their pick of the crop, basically, from
There it is.
guys. And that's super exciting, I think. And yeah, Belton's another option if they go tackle. He's an intriguing one. I love the size on him. So I think that'd be a pretty good option, waiting in the wings behind Trent Williams. So, man, day 2 is going to have a lot of excitement, I think, for us 49er fans. So make sure you guys keep it locked here. I'm going to be going live with KP after the 49ers make their picks of the day. And we'll be breaking down day 2 of the draft. But Wayne, what you got going on?
Oh man, I got a bunch of shows. So right today, day 2, got a little preview show, 4:00 with Mike from Nothing But Niners. I'll be going live 1 hour before the draft, so 6 p.m. I'll be back and just having some fun, trivia, all that kind of cool stuff, just getting geared up with the fans. And then we'll be live throughout the draft process. We'll react to the draft picks. As soon as that last draft pick is done in the 3rd round, I'm hopping over to the Bleacher Report app to do my reaction show on the Bleacher Report app. So make sure you guys check me out, man. It's going to be fun.
This is one of the most exciting times of the year.
Oh my gosh, yes. This is Christmas.
For fans and content creators, like we all over the place. It's a lot of fun. So Wayne, keep doing your incredible work. Thank you for joining the show today. And we'll be back next week to talk about all the 49ers draft picks with Wayne. But make sure you guys keep it locked. Make sure you like this video. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet. Not just mine, but Wayne's as well, and not just Wayne, but mine as well. And audio listeners, leave a rating, leave a review, hit that notification bell so you know when I go live later. But for now, folks, enjoy day 2. Peace.